morning, everyone. This is Ian here at Burnham Gardens. It is a lovely morning. I just want to take you on a tour of some of my perennial gardens because they're just starting to come up. I have a couple that are in really shady areas and a couple that are in not so shady areas. So I'm just going to show you all the different perennials so you can get an idea of what grows well where. So let's go have a look. So in this front area, these sprouts coming up here are going to be black-eyed Susans over here. Not exactly sure what I got in there. I think that's going to be some bleeding hearts. I know I got bleeding hearts in this area. Of course, we got our ditch lilies. Tiger lilies, they're prolific. Can't keep them down. We got some tulips in here that should be blooming real soon. And I do have a hyacinth hiding in here as well. I kind of forgot I planted that bulb in there. I'll have to move that guy next year. Over here we got some hostas sprouting. Gonna try and eat some of those this year because I've heard in the early stages like that you can eat them a lot like asparagus. Looking forward to trying that. On both sides of the steps here I planted some coneflowers, so they should be coming up a little later in the season. Got some more tulips over here. We got a random trillium here. Not pulling that guy. That's just a wildflower that made it into the garden somehow. I love it. More lilies coming around the corner. Got the big hydrangea bush here. Very prolific. And this area is going to be phlox. So in the back we got purple phlox, and in the front we got white phlox. I just moved the white phlox from the other side over here last year, so this will be the first season that we have it all in the same spot, so that should look pretty cool. And over here I have a few different varieties of lilies, so it's not just the ditch lilies. We got 3 different kinds of ground lilies, bigger, fancy, I don't know what they're called. I'll show you when they bloom, you'll see the difference. But these guys get about 6 feet tall, and they have a bloom about twice the size of a regular tiger lily. So those will be exciting. This guy here is my ground cover rose bush. Just starting to come back to life. Really excited to see what this does this year. I got this in the fall and planted it, and then it kind of died, which was expected. But the pictures had some really pretty flowers, so I'm excited to see what that does this year. Over here I have another hyacinth, and this guy does have another lily that I transplanted last year growing around it, so I will have to move some things around again. That's the trouble when you move everything around in the fall, is you kind of forget what was where. So I did double up some plants by accident, but that's okay. That's half the fun. And as you can see, I do leave the top of my garden bed pretty messy as far as some people are concerned, but I find that the pine needles and leaves help retain moisture, and of course they break down and add nutrients. A quick look at my compost area. So this is all from last year: grass clippings, pine needles, leaves, kitchen scraps, leftover root balls from pots last year. I mixed it all together. It's been sitting for about a year, and I got some great black gold for that. The whole bottom foot there is pretty much perfect compost at this point. Over here is my newest bed. So I just put this one in. It's a very hugelkultur style. I'll show you from this angle down here. So I used logs to wall off the area, and then I also filled in underneath here. Can't really see, but under there is just a ton of logs as well. So there's actually only there's about 2 inches of dry carbon, like pine needles and stuff, and then another 2 inches of soil on top. And I have some raspberries going in here, so we'll see how they do. This is more of an experimental garden, not too sure how this is going to work, but it looks good. And for those of you who watched the last video, this is the garden where we planted our perennials. We got some hollyhock, gladiolas in here. I've also planted some sunflowers. That's what you can see sprouting there. And a couple other annuals that should sprout, but I did plant them before our last frost, so they might have gotten killed off by the frost. Over here, got another hyacinth that's just on its last legs, getting pretty crispy. So I'm going to group all 3 that I have together for next year. I kind of spread them out because I didn't really know what I was planting last year. This is all very new to me. This is my mother's prized peony. Very big, pink, beautiful flower that comes out of that. And another lily over here. This is just a hanging basket that I got my wife this year. We got the galaxy flowers, some white flowers, very pretty. I live on a very pine-heavy lot, so we've had to adapt and find things that are good in acidic stuff, but I've also learned that brown pine needles aren't acidic, despite what you might read on the internet. Once they go brown, they're just as carbon-filled as a leaf, so you don't have to worry about over-acidifying your gardens if you want to use pine needles as compost. And then this is my vegetable garden area. As I do rent this property, I'm unable to put a big garden in the ground like I'd like, but we make do with these amazing tote buckets. Last year I just had 3, and I've added 4 more, and I plan to buy a couple more here at the start of the season to get things going. Got my radishes coming up in there. Those guys are great. I planted those in April, and they survived a bunch of frosts. Also have a couple carrots that'll be in here coming up soon. In here I transplanted a few lettuce starts that I had in my mini greenhouse, so we'll see how those guys take off. They were just transplanted this week. And I have planted most of these guys with beans and tomatoes, because that's what my family likes to eat. These pots over here are just going to be decorative flowers that I started. They'll go around various spots to liven up the yard. And I got my strawberry plant. I was able to overwinter this guy by burying it in my front yard and putting about 1.5 foot of leaves and pine needles over top. I was told this guy would not last over the winter, but it did, and it's coming back strong. So I've put it in a pot about 3 times the size of the one it was in last year, so I'm expecting about 3 times the amount of strawberries, hopefully. And there you have it, folks. Just a quick garden tour. Just wanted to show you everything we got going on. I'll do one of these a couple times a month so you can see the progress as things grow. And things are going to look really great, so make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you want to support the channel, there is a link in the description. By all means, you don't need to do that, though. Just watch the content. I appreciate that. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment down below. And thank you for watching. Make sure you come back, because we've got a lot of gardening to do.